truly remarkable group of people who are, whose leaders are present. It is also the formal introduction of ICT to the United States and to the English-speaking world. This presentation and the 4-day workshop that follows starting tomorrow, Wednesday, April 20th, have been made possible by generous donations or grants from the Staunton Farm Foundation and JPB Foundation. I should also tell you that, and maybe many of you who are in the audience know already, more than 40,000 facilitators across Brazil and Latin America use ICT to enhance emotional literacy, generate solidarity, and rebuild social networks. And it is our hope that today is the start of something really unique and fruitful for everybody involved and for all the people whom we come in contact with. And without taking any more of your time, let me introduce to you Dr. Barreto.
A gente já deixou assim por causa da câmera. É só para manter que você assim. O teu espaço é aí. Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to talk in English because I studied English in the IBEU, the Brazilian Institute of. But when I was to Europe, I lived 6 years, and so the French and Italian. The English say, I can understand, but to talk is a little difficult. So I would like to talk, to present more or less our work, Fortaleza, and for the debate, you need help to translate.
The Q&A.
Okay, so I'm very happy to share with you my Brazilian experience of 36 years. We work in a favela called Pirambu, one of the biggest favelas from Fortaleza. You have a population who comes from migration, not about the war, but about the dry season with this problem.
Okay.
And this is a little our experience. You see the spider web is our symbol. The Tremembé Indians who live in the northwest of Brazil, they have a dance they call torém, where they invoke and imitate the animals of which they have been taught. With the spider dance, they remind us that an indigenous without his land is like a community without its bonds. It's like a spider without his web. Okay, the community where we are working, Fortaleza, next. It's called Quatro Varas, 4 sticks. Why 4 sticks? The legends say an elder man at the end of his life called on his 4 sons. He asked each of them to break a stick. Then he showed that the 4 sticks bound together were unbreakable. I found there the orientation of my work, which was to join the sticks without excluding anyone. Unite the academic knowledge with the indigenous, African, Portuguese, and Asian alike. This was our next. When I arrived in the favela with my medical students, invited by the Human Rights Center, I meet people who live the same suffering. The isolation, collective suffering, material and affective losses, identity crisis, relational and segregative distortions, all being treated with the same way with drugs. I realized that I needed to go beyond the individual clinical model where the problem belongs to the individual and the solution comes from the expert and the institution. we see that this model generated dependence. People are, and so to find a new model, to a co-participative model that considers individual, professional, patients, and ordinary people, as well as part of the problem and part of the solution. The community have problem, but they have all solution. You have to do something, and this is ICT allow this. Okay, next one. I would like to open a parenthesis and make a parallel between the two models of action and intervention in the field of community health. You have the clinical care, focused on help by the health professional, focused on curing the disease, chemical scientific efficacy, treatment and cure by drugs, centered on the individual, and you have a tendency to medicalization of life. It's a hard access, is the prevention is limited to the body. Wash the hands, just the social body don't exist. And the other, I call this the solidary care. We are all protagonists, carers in well-being. It's a citizen action. We don't need to have studied in a university to do something, no. It's centered on the person, on the prevention and promotion of health. It intervenes in what generates suffering, fight against stigmatization, for social justice, and defend what we have in common, water, land, air. Because the old model is just the biological body. Here is integrative, everything is connected. And unconditionally takes care of soul of pain, suffering with cultural resource. You don't need to, we are not against this model. My proposition is to work both. You know, it's a non-competitivity, it's complementary.
It's to merge.
Okay, the next. When I arrived in this favela, listened to them, I realized that it was more about suffering to be received and cared of than illness or psychiatric disorders to be treated by drugs. When the first time I arrived with 10 students of medicine, a woman talks about her insomnia as a result of her husband's murder. Immediately, I gave her a medical word that she refused because she could buy it. She started crying. At this particular moment, another woman offered her a handkerchief to wipe her tears. Another bring her a cup of tea. Another one gave her a feet massage. Another talks about her insomnia and what she had done to sleep. Immediately, I have seen a visible effect. The people creating relationship, conversation. At the end of ICT round, she was surrounded. She received what she needs, social support, and not my expertise. Because sometimes you think, I have a PhD, I come from the university, I'm a specialist. You have the answer for the people. This, I think, is a mistake to believe that is the answer is only technical. No. I understood thus that my role was to reinforce this dynamic that enabled them to find solutions among themselves, using their own resource, to believe in themselves by saying, yes, I can. Yes, we are able to build our present with our own resource. for me, this is the beginning of ICT. My position there is not to bring something from the university, but say, I'm going to structure something, a method that the people can together find solution. Okay. The first challenge to me to overcome was to understand that the clinical model I had was inadequate. I also had my own shortcomings in my worldview, in our model of care and representation in our institution. It was not enough to treat psychic disorders, but to foster and develop a quality of living together in a different context with different persons that enable each one to be fulfilled. My role was thus to reinforce this dynamic, to enable them to find solutions among them by using their own resource, to believe in themselves by saying, yes, I can, yes, I'm able to build my own present with the resource I have. Okay. Here I said to me, if these people come here to share their problems, they could share solution and strategy also. Why you put the people together just to understand the question and our answer? No, they have problem and solution. This is the first idea. They could also share solution and strategy built by their own life experience. And this it was one thing that I understood. I can be loved because I received much love for my parents. But I can love because I was rejected. Donc, the currency generates competence. We give, this is very interesting to see the favela. The people, we give best the thing that you don't receive. It's very interesting how the people is the capacity to transform this resilience dimension, transform a wood in a pearl. This is a little the things you do in Fortaleza. And so, okay, one difficulty was how could I put aside my position as a specialist, holder of university knowledge, professor from the University Federal, the School of Medicine. Furthermore, how to realize that I was there not to exercise my power, but rather to heal myself of my university alienation. Sometimes you are alienated from the reality. When you listen, sometimes some experts, the people don't understand nothing because it's a language very closed, very complex. I said to me, I come here to heal myself of my universal alienation, and to learn another way to heal others. Learn is not just about adding knowledge and complexity. Often, on the contrary, it's a matter of stripping, cleaning, and eliminating, seeking simplicity. Thus, I could be freed from the position of the know-it-all expert and accept to learn from others, aware that I was there for my own sake and benefit like others from this collective learning. You see, you are in a not in a vertical model, but in a horizontal model. Okay. And so you create the ICT, Integrative Community Therapy, that gets together all these people in a public space, because in general, is the private individual is you don't have so much work together, the community. And so it is an approach that amplifies the community resource network This space allows people to learn from one another, share their suffering, and overcome their life difficulties. They can learn there. Huh? The integrative systemic community therapy is based on two fundamental assumptions. Every person, whatever their socioeconomic or cultural condition, even if they do not know it, they have resource and knowledge useful to others. This skill comes from overcoming difficulty and cultural resource. Every time you pass a problem, you create a knowledge. And this is the moment to socialize. Under this base, sharing occurs in a horizontal and circular way, since what is valued is not the difference in economic or university situation, but the variety of life experience. They are all on the same level. You don't need, you can be a professor. It's not a space to debate ideas. When you debate ideas, you have the contrary, the effect contrary, we divide the group. It's not to talk about idea, it's feeling what I feel. And so we implemented the rules that structure the session, because to talk, you have always one person wants to talk more than others to manipulate. And so that you create the rules to structure this session, ensuring respectful exchange and protection from ideological manipulations. Sense and active listening. Speak and I, we can say no, as no, I live this. No advice. It's not so easy, because we're habituated to say what the other have to do. No speech, no judgment, no interpretation, and suggestion, proverbs, everything. It's very, you can laugh, it's very amusing. It's not a round that you are sad with, no, you can sing, is really interesting. Bom, the ICT methodology, the next, is very simple. From a personal restless, we seek to identify what has of universal to be reflected by the group. The methodology, the concern presented by someone and chosen by the group, because you vote, is the start point. It is from this concern, alcoholism, depression, conflict in family, that the facilitators seek to stimulate the sharing of life experience. The quick question that triggers reflection is, which of us has experienced something like this before, and what have you done to get out of it? You have to talk about you. I do this. You can say, we have to do no counseling, not judgment. And each one talk about him. It's very simple. When someone, you have in general 100, 200 people, is a large group, you can imagine it, the richness of strategy comes from the group. And so several strategies will emerge from the group. Example, say if for insomnia, who have an insomnia, what you have done to the past is, you find herbs tea, and he gives how to prepare, to walk, to pray, to talk, sport, to love, to receive a massage, to sing. And so you can, in the time I call this, therapy à la carte. The person choose, because for insomnia you have 15 possibilities. You can choose what is best for you. I cannot say, attention, this is bad. No, no, no. So for a lot, sometimes fathers say, I lost the hope to get out my son from the drug. And when he talks, we voted, he was choose, he talked about his suffering like father. And therefore, when you are discussed, is not centered, focused in the problem, is hope. Which of us one day lost hope to get married, hope to find a job, hope is not the problem with drugs. What you have done to recuperar, overcome the hope. And it's very, you don't focus the problem. It's the emotion, because there create links between us. Huh? Okay. It is sharing of life experience among people that relieves the pain and suggests new clues to overcome their suffering. The ICT, you have a direct effect upon social determinants, health determinants, stress, and social support. Okay. This whole experience allowed us to take advantage of the combination of the academic and cultural knowledge and then expand solidarity networks. To do so, we need to accept the fact that we experts do not know everything and that we need each other in the interdisciplinary work. Being humble is being aware of one's competence and limits, but accepting the competence of others as complementary. This is only possible if you give up the position of the expert who knows to learn from each other. Okay. Research has shown that 88.5% of the participants in the integrative community therapy found a solution to their suffering in the round, and hardly 11.5% need specialized treatment. Complementary research confirmed the same data to all the countries of Brazil. Furthermore, the construction of network of social care makes individual and community alike more autonomous and less dependent of specialist professionals and institutions. According to this, it has left to the specialist merely to treat the pathology only. ICT has a complementary action, able to select what is possible to be cared for by ICT and what needs to be referred to other specialists. It's interesting to work in a complementary way, because in general, when new things arrive, it is to destroy the older one, and so you spend so much energy. Okay. So our research at national level showed more frequently reported themes. First was stress, family conflicts, problem with dependence, alcohol, drugs, work, depression, fracture of social links. And in Europe also, you will find the same subjects. Okay. For the last 36 years, we have been seeking participative solution, integrated knowledge, and expanding solidarity network. Step by step, these sharing rounds were being held in other slums, in schools, churches, health centers, prisons, populations suffering from climate catastrophe, universities, countries, and now is the part of the official policy of the Health Ministry of Brazil. Only Brazil, more than 40,000 people have been qualified by my university and are working in all the country. And the Brazilian Association of Community Therapy to organize rounds and have already reached. You are in 31 countries. Now you are helping in the war of Ukraine. You have the ICT in Ukraine since
Ukraine.
Since 2018.
2018.
And they are doing this round in the bus when the bus bring for Poland. They are doing this, and I have 3 meetings with this community therapist just to support what they are doing. Is very interesting. And during the coronavirus, you could not more do in presential way. You start to do online, and you create a network, 15 countries with this round online. You arrive at the same solution, the same conclusion. For the emotion have no frontiers. The fear that a woman who lives in the favela is the same who live in Paris, Geneva, Rome, Milan. Is our humanity. I think this war is in the virus also, coronavirus, trying to find what you have in common to restart something of new. Okay. And from the individual to the community, I think that the medicine has made great advance in the treatment of pathology of intracellular and the intrapsychic, led by the specialist. The challenge now is to find remedies for disturbance of living together, of living with differences. I think this is the point now. United States, economic, in the point of view, the economic way, you are best than much countries. But here you have problems also to live together with all this riches who comes from Africa, from other countries. This is a challenge for us. The challenge of ICT is build bonds of affection and trust and social support network in public space. In private space, you can do this very good, but in public space with other people. Enable those who only say no to themselves to learn to say yes to themselves. Leave the position of submitted object to active subjects, opening a door of hope for those who do not believe in themselves, in others in the future. We professionals have to leave the comfort zone to be challenged in our practice, review our models, values, and beliefs. Okay. Take care of the other leads us to take care of ourselves. You have the old model, you learn things in the university to apply for the others. We learn to diagnose the others, to give drugs for others, and we don't count. I think you have to stop to be savior of humanity, to save the people, to save this model is finished. The encounter with the other becomes the key that opens for us to the knowledge of oneself. The other becomes a loyal contributor to our self-development process. There is no me without you, and even less you without me. Here is the secret of our development, growth as a person and as a professional. The awareness that you are born is precarious. The art of taking care is pleasant and positive when we take care of others we taking care of ourselves. That way, you grow together. The care into the ICT is no longer between patient and professional, but through the bonds that we are building the group relationship based on respect and appreciation of the stories, the conflict and traumas reemerge, and there is also the hope of updating and reorganize previous woods with the support of the group. I think the support of the group was, you believe now in the PhD of one person, and you let the group out. I think it's the moment to come. Okay. And here is a little, we propose an extension of vision, articulating clinical with solidary model in a complementary and non-competitive perspective, from a model where together practitioners and patients are part of the problem and part of the solution. We propose a paradigm articulating clinical models with solidary model in a complementary and non-competitive perspective, in addition to academic knowledge. It seems necessary to rely on the mutualization of the wisdom of each culture, as well as the knowledge gained through life experience, to treat pathologies, but also promote health. Solutions from above combined with solutions from sideways, that is social support. Migrating from a model that generates dependence toward one that promotes co-responsibility. From a model centered on the individual towards a model focused on collectivity. Seeking a model where practitioners and patients are part of the problems and part of the solution. Okay. Yes. There is our proposition to work together. But the integrative community therapy, although it has an outline defined by theoretical axis, is much more an outlook than a technique to be applied. That is why in training to be a community therapist, the life stories of each student are exhaustively worked through so that we can incorporate these indispensable values for anyone who wants to be a community therapist. I will present quickly. Okay, the next one. Be welcoming. Welcome, accept yourself as you are. You have to accept. How can I create links with the other, with the link with myself? It doesn't exist. For example, it's very common when I go in France or Switzerland, working with the student of psychology, I ask, who gave your name? What's your name? Michel. Who gave your name? My parents. Which? Your father or mother? No idea. Where comes this name? No idea. But you ask, who is Freud? Freud was born at 3 hours in the morning, in the little. We know everything about the history of the others. You know nothing about our stories. How can I be protagonist? How can I be in the place of empowerment if I'm not connected with my history? And so it's welcome yourself to be open to differences in traditional, modern, and family values. Be aware of each other body language and emotion. Welcome my story. Welcome the emotional resonance inherent in caring as raw material for my own growth. To welcome the pain of the soul. Welcome the enforcing the unexpected positive and negative emotion. Welcome the inner child who lives in each one of us. The second is be simple. Rescue the simplicity of language. Get rid of the place of the specialist who knows to accept learning from the other. Complication is an instrument of power, of domination, which wishes to impose its superiority by stating that its knowledge is so complex that the other must submit to itself. Simplicity allows us to abandon, to get rid of the power over others in order to be with others. Simplicity allows us to rescue the essential, less paper involving the candy. And not so much paper, the candy is... Third, the circularity of caring. We give and receive. Often the relationship is based on an expert who gives and an individual who receives, vertical. In this way, we deprive ourselves of the extraordinary wealth of knowledge that it's required by each person, life experience, and above all, of those people who are experiencing great difficulty. No. Paulo Freire reminds us that learning is a collective construction, and that we cannot really learn unless we learn something from the other. Our experience shows us that the same happens in this work in ICT. 4, valuing emotion, which unites us as humans, not ideas. You can discuss after. Emotions are the starting point for the construction of the identification that build social support on network. When sometimes say, I lost my father recently, immediately all the people who lost, me too, me too, me too, me too. And you see the less start to place between the people. Valuing the body as the locus and allow us to live our emotion requires identifying and naming the sensation present in the body. Is that you are doing tomorrow to work there? You say the mind lies, but the body no. Sometimes you say something, but the body say exactly the contrary. It is through emotion that we come together, discover that we are all the same and experience humanity regardless of any apparent external difference. You are everything is human. When you are suffering, when you are in the situation to survive. Vou passar esses dois. 5. The next one. Okay. Dare to transgress. Above all, it is audacious to allow yourself to discover yourself. Show your emotion and thus allow the other to do the same. Because our professional, you don't talk about ourselves. No, it's not. You are lost our power. This is an equivoque. At ICT, the facilitator can also talk about their suffering. To get there, you must overcome the shame of public speaking, the guilt for fear of being judged. 6, generate doubts in our certainties with questions that make us think. Generate doubt is our certainties is very important. All certainty is a prison. Each person who comes to the ICT round is the prisoner of one reading, one perspective, one point of view, find themselves victimized by and guilty. It is up to the community therapists to be the facilitator when true questions to solve doubt, uncertainty. Question can open perspective of different options to face reality. A point of view is just a point of view. You see by TV the dialogue and Putin and the... Each one has this point of view, want to impose the other. It's impossible to have a dialogue. Okay. I think I like Professor Darcy Ribeiro. Professor Darcy Ribeiro said, there is always something to learn, whether through reading, listening, living, and above all, working. But only those who are willing to review their certainties learn. 6, generate is the same. You can, because for us it's very important. In the community therapy, you just pose questions. You don't say things, questions. In the moment you generate the doubt, the person says, I don't understand nothing. In this moment, he can open to understand, to do some questions. Very important. Okay. Circularity and horizontality in relationship. One person's experience is not more important than another's. It's just different. There is no knowledge superior to the other, but knowledge to share. You are all apprentices. What exists is collective knowledge. At ICT, those who generally speak must be silent to allow those who never speak to speak. You are formed in the universe to talk for the people. The people listen. Our proposition is silent, listen. Because when the people start to talk, they pray, they take conscience. And this is the most important. I'm here is not to show that I'm a big power and a scientific, but it's like an enzyme, helps the help but don't participate actively in the chemistry na solução. See the other as a resource, this next one, in order that everyone can benefit from everyone's resource. We need to leave a space for science to value the presence of the participants. Welcome difference is a gift, and alterity as a mirror that evokes resonance, that favor self. Okay. No, it's my it's there. Okay. Welcome difference as gift and alterity as a mirror that evokes resonance, that favors self-awareness. Learn from the other and allow yourself to be challenged by the unexpected, the new. 9, see the other as a resource. Oh, it was there, no?
No.
Yes, next one. Accept unpredictability. And this for us, we come from the universe. When we start a project, we start the project when you have money, everything is previsto.
Everything is settled, A, B, C, D.
In the communitary work, you are there. You don't have just the certainty that I'm here to do something together. And so community work is based on unpredictability. Unpredictability requires flexibility and a great capacity to adapt to contextual requirements. It is the awareness of the essential and the possible as a dynamic process that we must follow. We must be at the service of the process and not the other way around. Unpredictability cannot be confused like with disorganization. And then, and last, the humor with love. Humor is an indispensable cultural resource in group work. It stimulates the neocortex to reflect and allow reframing, transforming the tragic into painful. Only those who understand, who think, laugh. Search your way, and when you find it, ask if you are, if there is heart. If not, don't follow. Castaneda no say this. Okay, I think it's okay. This is Santo Agostinho. I like very much. I like someone can read from. You put the last slide. Sorry.
It's not showing.
No, the next. Who can? You is responsible for my presence here. You're guilty.
I'm guilty. And I'm very proud of being guilty. Love and do what you wish. If you shut up, you will shut up with love. If you shout, you will shout with love. If you correct, you will correct with love. If you forgive, you will forgive with love. If you have love rooted in you, nothing but love will be your fruit.
Santo Agostinho. I think this is, the ICT is not a technical that you learn to apply for the others. You have to live. I think nothing is more therapeutic than love. If you don't have love, you can do everything you do. A machine will do it best than you. Now I can stop.
You need to be a data like this. Wait.
Do some commentary, the questions. E eu vou pedir alguém para traduzir. É ele que vai traduzir. Ok.
Do we have questions coming in from the internet as
I
well?
have 2-3 hands. Aqui.
1, 2, 1, 3, and then you go. You at the back. Yeah, please. Your name and.
Hi, I'm Laís, and I know the CIT, and I'm really happy to actually see you for the first time. I've read a lot of all of everything. Eu adoraria falar em português. Eu já conheço bastante o CIT, fiz minha região ao Pará. E quando eu conheci o CIT, foi quando eu estava na faculdade, há 15 anos atrás, de psicologia. E aí eu estava pensando assim,
Just a little bit.
Okay, you were going to translate.
Yeah, I forgot your name.
Laís.
She's Laís. She know through many years ICT from Pará. It's a state of Pará, it's the north in Brazil, near to Amazonia. And she's very glad to be here and talking about it. Then I'm gonna start. Yeah.
Thank you. So,
pode ir em português.
Tá bom. Eu estava pensando assim, nos anos mais recentes.
I was thinking about the recent years.
Se tem alguma coisa muito significativa que mudou na condução dos grupos.
If it has something very significant to facilitate the groups in the conducting way.
Porque, assim, muitos dos movimentos sociais, das demandas de pessoas na comunidade, muita coisa tem mudado.
Many things are changing around the world through the communities. They are often with daily worries and concerns. So how you how do you embrace it? How do you?
Yeah, I think I'm more curious about how to think of the word embrace the new challenges that we might be seeing now that maybe 20 years ago we did not heard about, or people were afraid to speak up.
Thank you.
Sim. É interessante quando as pessoas fazem trabalho com pessoas pobres.
It's very interesting. You're gonna do it?
Okay, good.
Okay. It's very interesting when you're working with people who are living in slums, or they don't have much money, or some needs with precarity.
A gente pensa em dar coisas, tijolos para construir casa, telhas para cobrir a casa, comida que está faltando, uma escolinha para construção.
We always think about to give something to them, something to build, something to feed them, something that is physical, that is material.
Quando nós começamos esse trabalho há 36 anos na favela,
when we started this work 1986,
as pessoas vinham atrás de coisas materiais.
They just arrive and they are asking us for something that's material that they can touch.
Levou quase 10 anos para entender que a nossa proposta não era essa.
It took almost 10 years that they to understand that our proposition wasn't that.
Era dar esperança, era dar ânimo.
It's to give hope, it's to give something that
like to get people excited.
Exciting to live.
O sofrimento dessas pessoas não atinge apenas o corpo físico.
The suffering of those people doesn't only achieve the physical body,
mas toca a alma.
But touch the soul.
E alma é do latim animus, é o que dá força, que dá ânimo.
So from Latin, soul comes for animals. Oh, anima. Anima is something that animus.
Animus,
and
force.
It's something that inside and bring you courage, bring you live, bring you to.
Por isso que as religiões, as seitas religiosas têm crescido muito nesses espaços.
A point of view is like the religions, they are growing in many spaces through different ways.
Porque as pessoas buscam nas igrejas católicas, nos centros evangélicos, nos centros espíritas, na Umbanda, eles buscam reanimar a alma desanimada pela dureza da vida.
So the people go through the centers, to Catholic churches, to evangelical churches, or to African ways, or doesn't matter, looking for something that they are trying to relive through their souls that are just inside of them and reconnect with that. So to give a life back.
Os centros religiosos tornaram-se UTIs existenciais.
The religious centers, they just started to become central of existentialism.
Não, como se diz a UTI?
The ICU.
Like an existential ICU.
Yeah, it's existential ICU, so the centers are like
então,
that, right?
Eu acho que a grande contribuição do projeto foi fazer as pessoas entender que mais importante do que ganhar uma casa, um tijolo para construir, ou cimento, é conseguir acreditar em si, em que eu sou capaz.
So the most thing it is that I need to believe in myself. I need to believe about my capacity, not only into the walls or to the roof or what I have to get in my hands.
E com o desenvolvimento da terapia comunitária, Não existe novas técnicas de trabalho de grupo. Os mais antigos já têm quase 40 anos.
This is not something new. The most older that are doing this, it has more than 40 years right now.
Então, muitos
So it's a group.
muitos assistentes sociais entraram para a formação e eles estavam muito preocupados em resolver o problema das pessoas.
Many social workers, they just come to this because they are very, okay, now I need to resolve your problem.
A terapia comunitária não é para resolver problemas, é para criar uma dinâmica mobilizadora dos recursos culturais locais. Deixa eu continuar no tu.
Não estava escutando dessa vez.
The community therapy is comunidade terapia. Eu só falo aqui.
To get people moving. You're saying to get people moving and animated again. That's the purpose of it.
Yeah, the purpose is
Não
not
é
to give
não é
something.
uma terapia para resolver problemas da pessoa,
It's
não
not
do conselho.
to resolve the others' problems and concerns, to advise them or judge them or say, do like this.
Numa terapia de grupo,
In a group therapy,
eu apresento o meu problema, o meu sofrimento,
I share my concern, my suffer,
e todo o grupo me ajuda.
and all the group helps me out.
E na terapia comunitária é o contrário.
In the community therapy, it's not like that. It's a contrary.
Eu falo de um sofrimento, perdi a esperança de salvar o meu filho da droga.
I talk about the emotion and feeling. I lost my son to the drugs.
I lost the hope.
And the hope to give
Save my son from the drug.
son for the drugs.
Essa pessoa oferece o tema, mas a reflexão, cada um vai falar do que ressoou em si.
That person just offered the theme, the motive. And then you go later. The motive, and then
Every person speaks about how it resonated with them.
yeah.
Porque na terapia de grupo, todos querem dar conselho. Faça isso, faça aquilo.
And in other forms of group therapy, they say, oh, do this or do that.
In ICT is the counter. O que ressoou em mim, eu fiz isso. Eu falo, não falo mais com o outro, nem do outro e nem para o outro.
It's like what resonated with me. I don't speak to the other, about the other, or sort of like for the other.
I talk just about the resonance and what I have done to resolve this. E nesse sentido, houve uma evolução. A gente hoje não está mais querendo ver a terapia de grupo como uma maneira de a terapia comunitária para resolver problemas. Não é para resolver problemas, é para criar uma dinâmica mobilizadora dos recursos.
So we no longer think of it as like therapy to solve problems. We think of it as like a dynamic of sort of like circulating resources or sharing resources.
Okay, other person?
Can we take a question from online first? I think we should go back and forth. I know it's easy to forget. We got lots of people out there listening in and asking questions as well.
Can you read those, David?
Yeah, sure. Obrigado pela apresentação maravilhosa. Você pode falar sobre como funcionou nas áreas diferentes com culturas distintas?
What was that in English?
Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation. Could you please speak to how this has worked in different areas with different cultures?
A matriz, ela é simples e ela é universal.
The matrix or the sort of system is like simple and universal.
A cultura é ela que confere a identidade das pessoas.
So culture is what confers or sort of transmits the identity of people.
Saber quem eu sou, o que define é o que eu gosto de comer, como eu ando, como eu me visto, como eu canto, é um americano, é um brasileiro, é um...
So what defines me is like how I see myself, how I dress, what I eat, how I walk. You know, I'm an American, I'm a Brazilian.
Então, no caso da terapia comunitária, nós valorizamos a cultura que gera uma identidade, que é plural.
So one important thing of ICT is that we value the culture that sort of generates the identity of other people.
E nada mais valoriza as pessoas nós estávamos fazendo uma roda de terapia no Bateau Genebra. Em Genebra tem um bateau, um barco grande, onde os sem domicílio fixo vêm comer, tomar café, e eu faço uma terapia uma vez. Lá toda quarta-feira tem terapia.
Bateau?
Bateau Genève, it's a
Barco.
Oh, okay.
Ship,
yeah.
So there's this boat in Geneva where people are like living on this boat, and it's sort of like a sort of commune space, and they've integrated the ICT to be a sort of weekly thing that everyone does in this commune.
So once a year he goes there and do with the boat.
Então tem 15 nacionalidades.
So there are 15 nationalities.
Falamos em francês, mas tem gente que não entende francês, tem árabe, tem turco, tem várias línguas.
There are people who speak French, but there are also people who don't even understand French. They speak Arabic or Turkish.
Em vez de trazer um técnico do governo para a tradução, a gente pergunta quem fala inglês e francês. Aí o grupo de francês, italiano, e assim a gente divide, eles mesmos fazem a tradução.
So instead of like bringing in a technical translator from the government or something, they all just like work together to solve these communication difficulties. They'll say, who can understand these two languages? Okay, help us get to the bottom of this.
E nós temos um momento de celebração, só notícias boas, de vitórias, do que conquistou, aniversários.
So there's a moment where they celebrate, where they sort of bring in only positive news, kind of like, good things that have happened to everyone lately.
Então, o oficial, happy birthday to you, sempre a mesma coisa. Então, a gente pergunta, quem é que está aqui? Tem gente da Nigéria.
Who here is from Nigeria?
Aparece 5, 6. Como é que vocês festejam na cultura de vocês?
So there might be 5 or 6 people from Nigeria, and they'll say, how do you celebrate birthdays in the culture where you come from?
Dancing.
So they prefer
Can you do dance for us? Yes. Outro da África disse, não, nós não cantamos na nossa cultura.
Someone else from a different country in Africa said, no, we don't actually sing for our birthdays.
Para mim é uma novidade não cantar.
For me, it was totally new. Like, you don't sing?
De vocês não, eu pertenço à etnia dos que não cantam. Tem uma etnia, só eles cantam. Eu não pertenço a essa etnia dos que cantam.
So he sort of identified with an ethnic group. Like, there are some where he lives that sing, and there are others that just don't sing. And the ethnic group that this person identifies with.
Então você pertence a que grupo? Ele diz dos que contam a história.
So my group, we prefer to tell stories.
Então você poderia contar uma para nós?
And so could you tell us a story?
E assim, cada cultura ela é exaltada, aplaudida. E isso reforça a identidade. Por isso que a teia da aranha, se você quer matar uma aranha, não precisa matá-la, basta destruir a teia. Se você destrói a teia, as aranhas morrem.
So in this way, every cultural difference is sort of celebrated, valued for kind of what differences it brings. And in the metaphor of the spider, if you want to kill the spider, you don't have to swish it. You just have to destroy its web, right? So,
então, por isso que nas colonizações, quando os colonos chegaram, europeus, a primeira coisa que eles destruíram era a cultura do povo para dominá-los.
So when colonists arrived in what are now colonial societies, the first thing they did was to destroy the culture as much as they could, because it separated people and it allowed for domination.
Quem unia o grupo do ponto de vista espiritual, do ponto de vista do grupal, eram os caciques, os chefes, os xamãs.
The people who sort of united the groups in a sort of social or cultural perspective were like the caciques, como é em inglês?
Xamã.
Like shaman, chiefs.
Onde tinha um culto religioso, destruía e construía uma igreja católica, se fosse católica. Então, destruindo a rede da cultura, os indivíduos ficam perdidos.
So every time they found a local culture or a local like religion, the first thing they would do is try to squash it and put a church right on top of it. And this is the way that they were able to.
Por exemplo, nós somos um país colonizado, onde teve escravatura, como teve também nos Estados Unidos.
In Brazil, we're a country, we're a colonial society where we had slavery, just like in the U.S.
Então, o negro era considerado como feio. Muitas piadas de mau gosto para descaracterizar a pessoa.
So like black people were considered, they tried to make them be considered ugly. They would come up with like mean jokes in order to sort of like make them like ugly culturally or something.
E quando você valoriza o índio, que lindo, é bonito ser negro, é bonito ser indígena. Isso valoriza, faz com que a pessoa cresça, se sinta protagonista.
And so whenever you can say like, make someone feel like it's beautiful to be an indigenous person or it's beautiful to be an African-American person, this sort of like reinforces their identity.
Então, por exemplo, nós pedimos que haja bastante música, piadas e provérbios da cultura local, não é da brasileira que nasceu, foi lá da sua.
So we ask the people are doing the round, your cultural jokes, your cultural poetry, your cultural thing that you're going to share with us. Not from the Brazil that I'm here to colonize you. What do you have to show up? So show up.
Então temos que fazer todo um trabalho de desconstrução do negro, da imagem do indígena, da imagem disso, né? Tem que desconstruir para valorizar.
So in a way, it's almost like you have to deconstruct this identity that people are given in order to be able to like value it and recover its value.
Okay, next question.
Next one.
Gianna?
Yeah. Hi, I want to say thank you so much. This speech was totally needed. Like, I definitely enjoyed it. I mean, I've been on my own since I was 13, and I moved to Pittsburgh as an active field. But as part of my indoctrination, it did a
Could you slow down just a bit? We're gonna have to break it up into pieces.
It's because you're talking, then I need to talk too.
We're gonna translate in pieces.
Okay, that speech was totally.
So ela gostou muito do fala.
Bombom sem papel. Chocolate sem embalagem.
It was like a candy without the wrapper.
I want to say I've been on my own since I was 13.
Just live by herself.
Yeah, I moved to Pittsburgh as an act of healing when I was 19. And all that.
Uma multidão, minha vida.
So you said you moved to Pittsburgh and trained as an
active healing.
As an active healing for yourself.
As an active.
When I was 19.
Quando tinha 19 anos, ela se mudou para Pittsburgh como ato de curar, sim, autocurar.
Although I didn't know it at the time.
Embora não soubesse no momento.
There was a lot that I needed to act out from my heart space.
Tinha muito que tinha que
Tinha uma falta, tinha buraco, tinha uma. Could you read the last?
Yeah, there was a lot that I needed to
process,
act out from my heart.
Tinha muito que ela precisava trabalhar nela mesma. Muita coisa presa dentro dela. Eu vou mostrar agora.
I did a lot.
Eu fiz muito.
Work to communicate to others who I was, especially as a professional working in social services.
Doeu muito, entendeu?
As great as they made me feel, as great as their language made me feel like I would be accepted from my experience and what I have to offer. It was really a shallow practice because no one valued what I had to give to the community and gave me space to be cultivated from that understanding. So I'm grateful to know that your model takes time to consider that. And as a recipient of a scholarship to study, it makes me feel at home. So thank you.
Não, bote essa aqui.
Yeah. I think we have a question online.
Just a sec, I'm putting a slide that he's gonna explain a little bit.
Just look. A multitude lives in me.
O anterior.
Volta, é o anterior. O outro. Não, é aquele que estava mesmo. O outro, é esse. Só está faltando letra. Clica.
Okay.
Okay. Look, a multitude lives in me. Why want to be one if I am several one? Look, to be born we need 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-parents, 6, 2,048 grandparents. By adding the great-grandparents, 11 generations, you obtain 4,094 ancestors, all born approximately 300 years before. This is for tomorrow, you are working about this. Look, you are here, but behind you, behind you, you have a history. For that reason, when I heal myself, I heal my ancestor, and I heal my descendants. Broken. And so you can imagine, deixa eu dar. You can see the quantity of this is memory in our body. For that reason, I talk. You have innate
And acquired.
and acquired. Acquired is the education, the culture, who invades the innate. And sometimes a person have 10% of innate, 90% is invasion of all the beliefs, all this problem there. And to heal itself is to exorcise the acquired. It's not exorcise the spirit from David, no. Exorcise a grandfather and something that are in our lives. In this sense, I say all therapists we are exorcists. To exorcise the acquired that impeach the innate to be you. And this is a work. I have to understand the only one I can to be free is by understanding, by conscience. To say, this is not for me. This not belong to me. This is my grandfather. And to exorcise the acquired. But you are in these 3 days that we are working together, we are see this. But when you talk, you come here, look what is inside of you. You are not aligned. Your problem is not your problem, it's the problem of my grandfather. When I resolve, the past, I heal me, I heal them, and I impeach that it repeats in the new generation.
Thank you, Gianna, for that. Dr. Barreto.
Can we take a question from the chat? Which one? I think whichever one was depois. We have a lot from the chat as well.
Are we gonna be able to keep record of that, of the chat?
We will.
Yeah.
Yes,
Are you
absolutely.
able to answer all the questions?
Yeah, we might not be able to get to
About 5
everything.
minutes left.
So,
Okay. This question.
So it says, very wonderful presentation, thank you. It feels like ICT has evolved from indigenous healers who use native circles or other communal means to heal not only emotional disturbances, but with physical and social problems as well. These minority groups suffer far more health disparities than the dominant society and are looking for ways to incorporate their traditional healing practices into their healthcare services. Can you describe how Brazil moved toward this model without abandoning Western science, which could be a challenge in this country? So, para resumir, nos Estados Unidos tem grupos indígenas que estão procurando incorporar modos tradicionais de curar para ser compatíveis com os medicinas contemporâneas. E pode descrever como no Brasil usou, desenvolveu esse modelo sem desafiar o medicina contemporânea.
A minha tese de doutorado em antropologia.
My doctoral is in.
Can you come over here? Because the camera's over
Oh, sorry. My PhD is in anthropology.
Por sistemas de crenças e práticas médicas do Nordeste brasileiro.
Studying like medical systems and sort of like child raising systems of Northeastern Brazil.
Havia uma mortalidade infantil muito grande, de 1.000 crianças morriam 200 crianças de diarreia.
So there was a really high infant mortality rate. It was like 200 per 1,000 at one point.
Então, quando eu fui fazer a pesquisa nessa cidade, eu perguntei aos médicos o que é o mais importante no tratamento da diarreia.
So when I went to go do that work, I asked the medical doctors, what is the most important? Okay, diarrhea.
Diarrhea.
Oh, diarrhea. So he was asking what was the cause, and they said like the most salient cause was diarrhea.
Os médicos disseram fazer o equilíbrio hidroeletrolítico.
Vou passar para.
It's to balance the liquid on your body.
But with salt.
With salt.
Com sal para o equilíbrio.
You need to balance that, not with sugar, with salt.
Quando entrevistei os curandeiros e perguntei o que é mais importante no tratamento da diarreia.
When I interview the people who take care of them, they are not doctors.
No, the healers.
The healers, yeah.
Os curandeiros.
I asked them, what are you doing for treatment?
What is the most important for you to treat diarrhea? Is water, tea. Is tea of herbs. What I proposed, when a child have diarrhea, the first person who visits him is the healer who lives there. We try to pray, to give something. And 3 days after, when the child is very sick, he go to the hospital. It's impossible to do something. And I propose unification of this. I say, okay, you take your tea, we call this a strong tea. You do the same tea you do, but you add the salt and sugar to put aside to do the serum.
The water.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting. We worked together. This is a way of for me, I come from a culture that to understand, I have to see. If I don't see, I don't understand. For that reason, I talk with images. You have two legs. One legs is the scientific technical legs. But you have another one that is cultural legs. And when we walk, you give the impression that you are in control of everything. But when you stay with just one leg, you risk to lose the equilibrium. Balance. And so, when the cultural is in action, the technical scientific gave an appreciation. When the scientific is in action, the culture, like a leg, this is the secret. When why I was very interested in this work is not, I have a history. My first universe, it was a magical religious universe. I was born in a village, received 3 million of pilgrims by year. They bring ex votos, the part of the body, when they are sick, if they have a problem in the head, he asks San Francisco, if he heal, he bring a head, wood, and put there. And so,
Did you get it? So so because they bring the head. They are bringing something that means like a head. So they take the wood pieces and make a head. Okay, I'm a problem in my head. So I'm gonna give you the saint, San Francisco, who was the saint, a piece of the head. If I'm arm problem, I have a wood pieces of an arm, then I give to the saint or something like that.
Eu vou sintetizar mais. Então, o meu primeiro universo foi o universo mágico religioso, onde as pessoas pediam aos santos o que não recebiam das instituições sociais.
So, like the first universe that he entered into was like experiencing or meeting people who would ask from the saints or the church things that they couldn't get from the. Sorry. Asking. They would ask the saints, santos, for any of the things that they couldn't get from the medical institutions.
E eu quis ser como São Francisco. Eu queria ajudar os pobres na época.
And in that time, I wanted to help the poor people.
Por isso eu entrei no seminário para ser padre, porque para mim era a única maneira de ajudar os pobres era ser do padre católico.
And at the time, he thought the only way that he could help people was to go enter the seminary and become a father or a priest, because
it's the only way.
That was the only way he sort of knew of at the time.
Mais tarde eu entrei na faculdade de medicina. Foi meu segundo universo, o universo acadêmico científico.
And it was like a second universe he entered into when he started to study medicine. It was a totally different place. He was studying medicine at the university.
Aqueles corpos dilacerados, eu diria, aquelas almas do primeiro universo, né, que eram as almas de São Francisco, eles tinham corpos, estavam abandonados pelas políticas públicas.
The people from the first universe, the poor people, they were sort of completely abandoned from like public policy interventions.
E pediam aos santos o que não recebiam das instituições sociais.
And so they would ask the saints whatever they couldn't get from the social institutions.
E agora, fazendo medicina, ciência, eu tive outro olhar.
And now that I have experience in the second universe of medicine, I have a totally different perspective.
Então eu fazia filosofia e teologia à noite e medicina durante o dia na universidade.
So I was doing philosophy during the day and medicine at night.
No, inverse.
Philosophy at night and medicine during the day.
No terceiro ano de medicina e filosofia, eu tive uma crise existencial.
In the third year of philosophy, in my studies of philosophy and medicine, I had an existential crisis.
Era esses dois universos aparentemente contraditórios.
These two universes that apparently were contradictory.
Funcionavam do mesmo jeito, cada um excluía o que era diferente.
they actually worked in the same way, and each one excluded what the other.
The different.
What was left out of the other.
No mundo católico, o que não era católico, apostólico, romano, era coisa do diabo. Evita. Exclui.
You would handle that one?
The things are the Catholic word, it must be taken away. If it's something like that, it's from devil.
E no mundo acadêmico, a mesma coisa. O que não vinha das pesquisas acadêmicas era charlatanismo.
Everything that's in the outside of the academic world, it's a fake news. So take it out as well.
E eu me perguntava a mim, para eu ser um cientista, eu não posso acreditar na minha cultura.
And I sort of came to believe that, like, to be a scientist, I can't believe in my culture.
Por exemplo, me diziam assim meus colegas: você ainda acredita em Deus? Você é um cientista? Aí, se eu dissesse, não, eu acredito, então você não é um cientista?
So one day a colleague approached him and said, "You still believe in God, but you're a scientist." And he said, "Yeah, I still believe." And the colleague said, "Well, then you can't be a scientist."
Então, o que é ser um cientista? É matar a sua raiz cultural?
So what is it to be a scientist? To kill your own sort of like cultural inheritance?
Esse foi meu primeiro livro, que eu chamo Um Índio que Vive em Mim.
My first book was called like an indigenous person who lives in me.
Eu comecei a entender que esses dois mundos aparentemente diferentes, eles queriam a morte da cultura.
These two universes that were existing like apparently independent, they both wanted like to kill culture in a way.
Então, eu disse a mim mesmo, eu vou mostrar que eu posso ser cientista caboclo nordestino. Eita. E acreditando no que eu acredito, na minha cultura.
So I kind of wanted to make a point of being a scientist who could...
If I'm from Texas or Brooklyn or whatever, I'm come with my own, so I can unite them. So he said, even if I come to Northeast Brazil, from countryside, whatever, I'm here, I'm with all of it, that I have it.
And I'm a scientist who also keeps my religion or believes in whatever it is I believe in.
Então eu fiz compromisso comigo mesmo que tudo que eu fosse fazer seria pé na cultura e outro na ciência.
So I sort of made a commitment with myself that everything I do will have one foot in culture and one foot in science.
Então eu fiz etnomedicina, etnopsiquiatria, etnopsicanálise, sempre cultura.
So I did
psychiatry,
ethnopsychiatry,
ethnomedicine,
ethnomedicine, and so everything, like everything. So I could always have one foot in culture and science.
Por isso que a cultura é importante. Quem eu sou passa pelo que eu acredito, o que eu como eu me visto. Isso é muito importante a gente entender.
So culture, it was centered around culture. It's all about my identity, what I wear, what I eat. It's super important for us to understand.
Então eu diria, ser terapeuta comunitário não faz diagnóstico, não prescreve remédios.
So to be a community therapist, you don't make diagnoses, you don't prescribe medicines.
Ser terapeuta comunitário é ser despertador de lembranças.
Despertador.
Despertador. Awake.
Oh, okay. Yeah, to be a community therapist is to be someone who wakes up people's memories.
For me, this is more important. If you understand who you are, I just remember you. I don't say what you have to do. Just remember the other. But you have a name. What's your name? Victory. Victory. And you are talking like como uma pessoa que perdeu a guerra?
You're speaking like a person who lost a war.
Not your name. Where this name, Victory? My grandfather. What is he? He was brave man. Okay. In Africa, you have a tribe. It's lots of interdiction. No, no, no. And when one person becomes sick, all the groups stop. during 3 days to take care one of other. And in this tribe, when a woman is waiting a child, during 9 months, the village comes to create a music for this child. When the child comes, all the village sang a song for the children, saying what all his values. In the birthday, you sing the song of each one. When this person have a problem, they call to sing her song. It's very interesting this, because it's remember who is you are. Your ancestor come. Look, when quando eu entro em contato com isso, isso me dá força.
When I enter in contact with this, it gives me strength.
Então o que nós fazemos é lembrar o que está esquecido.
So what we do is like remember or remind what has been forgotten.
O outro já sabe, mas precisa ser lembrado.
The other person might know, but they still have to remember it.
Então, ser terapeuta é ser um despertador de lembranças.
So to be a therapist, a community therapist, is to be someone who awakens people's memories.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Barreto.
The first person who raised their hand, yes.
Can we take one more? It's okay. One more.
That's okay. I mean,
No, it's okay. Yeah.
So thank you for this talk. It was really revealing. So one of the things was actually jog my memory was, so I'm from a part of India, which was a Portuguese colony called Goa.
That's right. So I said, muito obrigado. E uma coisa que lembrou ele foi uma história que contou, porque ele é de uma parte de Índia, onde era uma colônia portuguesa, não?
Yeah. And they pretty much destroyed our language, so we don't have a script.
Mais ou menos destruíram a linguagem, então agora quase não tem a linguagem.
We were able to move our temples out of Goa and save them. So I just wanted to say thank you for bringing that up and help me put that.
Então foi com sorte.
Yeah.
Você lembrou dela de uma memória que
eu trouxe de volta uma memória que estava esquecida e ele agradece você muito por isso.
E são memórias positivas e memórias negativas.
Are they positive memories or negative memories?
Muitas vezes são os dois.
Oftentimes they're both.
I mean, so we lost one thing, but then we got the printing press, which helped us keep. So we progress as a community. We actually progress because of that. But I'm sure plenty of lives were lost. I don't know.
Falo que negativo, perderam muito, mas também pegaram.
Vocês estão vendo como é importante a cultura. Se você estimula a cultura, as pessoas se conectam com toda a sua história, os antepassados, e o mundo muda.
That's an example of the importance of like cultural connection. If you can connect people with a culture or a memory, then like things can suddenly change.
Então, na terapia comunitária, vamos criar links entre nós, mas links com nossos antepassados. Tudo está conectado. É a conexão.
So in community therapy, we try to build like links with each other. But we also try to build links with like our own past ancestors, family history, so that like we just make things more connected.
O que nós temos observado é que essas técnicas funcionam bem quando falta dinheiro.
One thing we've noticed is that these techniques work really well whenever there's no money.
Quando falta dinheiro, a gente descobre que tem recursos. Enquanto tem dinheiro, a gente só gasta o dinheiro com os técnicos e a ciência e as pessoas.
Whenever there is no money around, we suddenly look around and realize that we have all of these resources that we can use already. And it's only whenever there's a whole bunch of money around that we first look to like technocrats and like medical solutions without looking around.
Eu espero que os Estados Unidos não esperem empobrecer para poder fazer esse trabalho que o Ken, a Alice já estão começando a fazer.
He almost, so was it? I think I understood. He almost hopes that the United States loses some of its money so that it'll be, so they'll start looking to these other solutions and that'll work.
And thank you, Alice and Ken, for bringing this to here.
Okay.
Just a second.
Então, lembrando um convite, quem quiser fazer uma formação genuinamente brasileira, vocês se organizarem e irem lá em Fortaleza, fazer uma formação em terapia comunitária em loco para ver como se aplica.
So he's inviting you, all of you, even you on the Zoom, to come to Fortaleza, Brazil, and do the immerse course in person as a Brazilian experience. So let's organize something and let's go. You all welcome.
Okay.
Let's give one last round of applause.
And actually, we also have to give a round of applause to Alice Thompson, organizing all this, and also to the Center for Latin American Studies for hosting us here tonight. We're really, really happy, Alberto, that you've been able to come and share what you've been doing with us, and all of you to come join us tonight. Thank you very much. I think there may be a little bit of a reception right outside. So if we're hanging out, you're welcome to do so.
Thank you all. Thank you all online as well. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.